Dear friends, mes chers amis, I'm absolutely thrilled and delighted to be here this evening to receive, thank you to the Right Livelihood Foundation for this great honor. I'm so pleased and delighted to join the list of laureates that you've accumulated over the years. Wow, what a group. Thanks to, I'd like to acknowledge Stephen Lewis, who put a lot of effort into nominating me. But I want to say I could not have been able to do what I have in my life without the efforts of my wife, who not only had the brains but the looks and stood beside me. Thank you, Dr. Tara Cullis. A lot of people at the Nature of Things and the David Suzuki Foundation have worked very hard on projects and programs, and yet people give me a lot of the credit for what they've done. And the Canadian public, by just watching my programs in substantial numbers, have kept me on air as the host of the Nature of Things now for 30 years. So I accept this award with gratitude, but please know that a lot of people have worked very, very hard to make me look good, and that's not easy. I will tell you, I have changed the script a bit, so maybe the simplest thing would be to just watch and listen. In a few days, delegates will gather in Copenhagen to try to come to some kind of agreement on how to tackle the challenge of human-induced climate change. Vested interest groups like the fossil fuel and auto industries and a few dissident petro-states like Canada will attempt to water down any hard targets, and I fear we will not be able to respond adequately to the urgent threats from human activity. Now, it is true that ever since life appeared on the planet, some 3.8 billion years ago, living organisms have interacted with and changed the physical and chemical properties of the planet, weathering rock and mountains, absorbing carbon and sequestering it as limestone, creating the oxygen-rich atmosphere by photosynthesis, making soil, filtering water, and so on. But those processes took millions of years and involved tens of thousands of species. Now we are suddenly and single-handedly altering the physical, chemical, and biological features of the planet on a massive scale. From a plane 10 kilometers above Earth, you can see our impact. Immense lakes behind dams, clear-cut patches of forest, huge farms and cities. We have become a geological force. Not long ago, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, drought, forest fires, and earthquakes were referred to as natural disasters or acts of God. Not anymore. We have joined God as a major force causing these events. Human use of fossil fuels is altering the chemistry of the atmosphere. Oceans are polluted and depleted of fish. 80% of the forests of the planet are gone, and we're still continuing to destroy them. An estimated 50,000 species of plants and animals go extinct every year. We dump millions of tons of chemicals, most untested for their biological activity, and many highly toxic, into air, water, and soil. We have created an ecological holocaust. Our very health and survival are at stake, yet we act as if we have plenty of time to respond. You know, when our species appeared in Africa about 150,000 years ago, we were not a very impressive animal. Our advantage over the other species was the human brain that endowed us with a massive memory, with curiosity and creativity. That brain imagined a future and recognized that we could influence the future by using our experience and knowledge to avoid dangers and exploit opportunity. Foresight, the great ability to look ahead, was our unique advantage and enabled us to spread across the planet and occupy every continent. We are now the most numerous mammal on the planet. And with technology, our consumption, and a global economy, we are undermining the very things that keep us alive. But we have increased our ability to look ahead. We have computers, we have scientists, we have telecommunications, and for over 40 years, leading scientists in the world have been telling us we are heading along a very dangerous path, that there are enormous opportunities if we can shift direction. Yet now we turn our backs on the very survival strategy of our species. Look ahead, avoid the dangers, and exploit the opportunities. But we don't do that anymore. We complain about the cost of changing our ways. The Prime Minister of Canada has refused to honor the Kyoto Protocol and opposes a binding agreement with hard targets for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. He tells us Canada is a northern country. We have to use a lot of fossil fuels. Besides, it will cost too much to try to reduce our emissions. And to that I say, thank God for Sweden. Like Canada, Sweden is a northern country. Yet by enacting a carbon tax, you have reduced your emissions beyond the Kyoto target, while the economy has grown by 44%. So thank you for putting the lie to my Prime Minister's claims. For most of human history, we have been local, tribal animals. But now we have to ask, what is the collective impact of all 6.8 billion people in the world? But when we ask that, we find there is no mechanism to act as a single species in our own common interests. Instead, we fiercely defend our boundaries that we wrap around property, our cities, our provinces, or countries. But human borders mean nothing to air, water, wind-blown soil or seeds, or migrating fish, birds, or mammals. My Prime Minister regards the economy as our highest priority and forgets that economics and ecology are derived from the same Greek word ekos, meaning household or domain. Ecology is the study of home. Economics is its management. Ecologists try to define the conditions and principles that enable a species to survive and flourish. Not a bad bit of information for an animal like us to know. Yet in elevating the economy above those principles, we seem to think that we are immune to the laws of nature. We have to put the eco back into economics. The current economic system is fundamentally flawed and inevitably destructive. Nature performs services that keep the planet habitable for an animal like us. Photosynthesis removes carbon dioxide and generates oxygen. Nature filters water, creates soil, sequesters carbon, and so on. Yet economists call those ecosystem services externalities. They're not considered a part of our economic system. What planet is this economy created for? Now, there are some things in the world that we can't change. Gravity, the speed of light, entropy, the first and second laws of thermodynamics, and our biological nature that requires clean air, clean water, clean soil, clean energy, and biodiversity for our health and well-being. Protecting the biosphere should be our highest priority, or else we sicken and die. Other things, like capitalism, free enterprise, the economy, currency, the market, those are not forces of nature. We invented them. They are not immutable. We can change them. It makes no sense to elevate economics above the biosphere, for example. Economists think the critical part of our economy is us. We are so clever, we're so creative and productive. And since there's no limit to human imagination and creativity, economists believe the economy can and must grow forever, which is an impossibility. Growth is not an end or a goal. Growth is just a description of the state of a system. But just ask any politician or business person how well they did last year, and they undoubtedly will point to growth in market share, profit, or GDP. If we think growth is progress, then no one wants to impede progress, so we fail to ask the important questions. What is an economy for? Are we happier with all this stuff? How much is enough? Why does a global economy act as if a Mongolian horseman, a farmer in the Andes, and a Papua New Guinean Highlander all have the same aspirations and needs? If we continue to set human borders and the economy as our highest priorities, we will never come to grips with the destructiveness of our activities and institutions. When our species was born, we looked out at a chaotic world, and the human brain imposed order and meaning in myriad ways, looking ahead and imagining the world into being. That was our great gift. So now the challenge is to imagine a different world where our wealth is in human relations and the things that we do together, and we learn to live in balance with the rest of nature. By imagining a future, we know where we want to go, and then we can marshal our creative abilities to make it happen. That's what we've always done. Thank you.